Now, last week's films with Jordan Shelley, who works with difficult and abandoned dogs, have caused a proper controversy.
Yes, hundreds responded by saying they need his help with their dogs, but even more were outraged at the technique that he used with a Jack Russell called Roxy.
We'll have some advice for you in a moment if you do have a difficult or aggressive dog. But first, we hear from one of Jordan's critics and see how he worked with another dog.
A problem dog, an unhappy owner, and 21-year-old Jordan Shelley, a young man whose love of dogs has drawn him to help animals who've become difficult to handle.
Bailey's got into two fights. One was with a girl staff, and the other one was over a bit of food, and I ended up with this scar on my leg.
The dog's owner, Katie, agrees to let Bailey spend time at Jordan's private sanctuary in the garden of his family home to get him used to other dogs.
And this is where you have to say goodbye to Bailey.
Bailey, oh, now be good.
He fosters and works with difficult and abandoned dogs in the grounds.
I will be in touch. Take care, Bailey.
Brilliant. See you later.
Bye.
Over the next few weeks, I'm going to start introducing Bailey to all the other dogs here, keep a very close eye on her to make sure that she behaves herself, and I'll reward her when she does well. As she spends more time here, hopefully she'll start showing a lot less aggression towards other dogs and generally become more socialised. It's going to take a lot of time and effort over the next few months for Bailey to become more socialised with other dogs, and Katie's going to play a very important role in that.
Jordan also gives Bailey extra exercise on a treadmill. This long-term approach, which sees Jordan reward Bailey, contrasts with the technique that we saw him use last week to break Roxy's bad habit of biting at feeding time. It was strongly condemned by dog lovers, trainers and bodies like the Dogs Trust.
Dogs Trust concerns of the emotional welfare of the dog and for the safety of the family involved. The problem is that the behaviour of the dog isn't actually fixed. It's actually been suppressed by this sort of battle of wills type of technique, which means that it's not showing the behaviour, but it's still thinking about it.
I really respect the Dogs Trust and their techniques, and I do use their techniques, but in this instance, the dog was about to be put to sleep. I mean, it was their last resort. There was not a lot else they could do. And I wouldn't recommend that people try any training at home without consulting someone first. No one should try to challenge a dog in that way without consulting a professional, because it could be dangerous.
The only sure way to help this dog is to fix it properly by counter-conditioning with positive training techniques to change the way that the dog thinks about what's happening, and it'll be much safer for everybody and the dog will be happier.
Well, I've been back a couple of times, and now that the dog is following their commands, they can use positive reinforcement to tell it when it's doing things properly, because obviously they don't have to go through that process of challenging the dog like I did.
The reason for the dog showing this behaviour, showing this aggression, isn't cured and is likely to resurface and may be worse, so the dog may bite and not give warning signals. The only real way to solve this is to look at the reasons for the dog showing the behaviour and to teach it new associations, positive ways of thinking about that.
5 weeks later, and it's reunion day for Katie and Bailey. But first, Katie has the chance to observe Bailey after her stay with Jordan. Katie can't wait any longer. But will Bailey be as pleased to see Katie?
Hello! Bailey! Remember me? Hello! Come here. Oh, it's so good to see me.
Jordan will continue to work with Bailey and has recently been looking after him when Katie was away. Indications are he's been much happier around other dogs.
It's absolutely amazing to have Bailey back. I'm so happy. Jordan's worked wonders with her. She seems happy and she seems calm. But I think the best thing is Jordan's going to keep in touch, and over the next few weeks he's going to come and visit me, and more long-term as well, and we're going to work on longer-term problems. My real aim is to make sure that no dog is unnecessarily put to sleep, and I'm sure no matter what techniques you use, we all agree on that. Each day I learn something different when I'm working with them, and in different situations with different clients, and I will never stop learning.
Jordan there saying that he will learn from the controversy.
Yeah, and to be fair, we should have actually described him as someone whose work we were following on the show rather than as the One Show dog trainer as such. But thanks for all of your comments, and we do take the criticisms that many of you have made about his techniques seriously, although they do have some supporters as well.
Yeah. Now, Joe Ingalls is a vet who's made films for the One Show, but Joe, you've made it very clear that you personally don't agree with Joe's techniques, do you?
No, I don't agree with the techniques that were shown, particularly in that first film. I mean, as this has shown, it's a very controversial topic. There's passionate opinions on both sides of the debate. And there are these two schools of thought. There's the dominance-based school of thought on training, which is what Jordan used in that first film. And then there's the reward-based positive associations counter-conditioning type approach, which really is based on a lot more real science, and it's become the consensual opinion amongst most dog trainers and professionals over the last 20 years or so. And it's also, you know, in most people's opinion, the most effective as well as being the most humane one. And the other point I'd say, which was also mentioned in the film, is that with positive rewards, it's hard to go too far wrong. But if you get this wrong, if you get the dominance, the confrontational approach wrong, you know, it can have really serious consequences for you, for the dog and for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It's a real grey area, isn't it, the whole dog training qualification side of things? I mean, Jordan, he used to work as a veterinary assistant, but, I mean, it is.
It is. I mean, unlike professions like the veterinary profession or dentistry or doctors, there isn't an overarching governing body who says, you know, who can practice. You know, anyone can set themselves up as a dog trainer or behaviourist.
Yeah.
There are qualifications out there, and I think if people are looking for a behaviourist, if they've got a problem dog, then first thing to do is talk to their vet, make sure there's no physical problems underlying it, and make sure there's nothing else that could be triggering the problem, and then try and get recommendations, talk to other pet owners, talk to your vet, and talk to some of the governing bodies and associations like the Dogs Trust to get a recommendation for a trainer who fits in with your philosophy and your pet and your way of life.
And the key at the end of the day is start your meeting to go on, start with the training right, with the treat reward. You never end up in a situation where your dog has to be correct.
Ideally, we would never have these problems. We wouldn't need behaviourists because people would choose the right pet and they would bring them up properly with positive rewards to begin with and train them, you know, in a good way from the beginning. But
brilliant. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks
Brilliant.
a lot. Right, with Downton Abbey back on the TV, it does make you wonder what it would